Hello there guys and welcome back to my channel for a video which I'm not really sure what to name it as. It's both transfer news, whatever you want to call it. It's also the part one of my Chelsea versus Manchester City Champions League final preview. There will be another one tomorrow afternoon with Dan McCarthy and maybe somebody else too. But there's loads to talk about. The football's done, aside from for us obviously, and the whole world of football just goes into meltdown and everything kicks off. I mean, managers going on field trips. It's like they've been locked in all year, so now they want to all travel. Like they're going everywhere. Players, madness, it's all crazy. It's all kicking off. It honestly is. We've got news to Eddie Newton about that. Sarri wants to bring Mount back, and now can Lampard fans even say anything anymore? It's a madness. It's honestly a madness. Rudiger, shout out to Rudiger, by the way. Obviously, he's not going to watch this, but if somehow he sees this, shout out to you. What an article, what a statement. It's difficult, you know, when you're in a position like me, you know, privileged white man. But, you know, I can't really sit here. I know what he's going through. Clearly, I do not. But when I read that, I'm like, I respect him. I respect him a lot. And, you know, shout out to Daniele De Rossi as well for what Rudiger explained about that as well. Just quickly had to throw that in there. But there's a lot to discuss today. To discuss those two things, I am joined by two very, very special guests. I know they're both regulars, but that doesn't make them any less special. For some reason, Lewis switched up the cameras, so Con is now on top. So I'll introduce Con first. ConnCFC, of course. His link is always down in the description. Check him out. Help him reach 100,000 followers on Twitter. Con, first of all, how you doing? How you been? And on a scale from 1 to 10, how nervous are you for Saturday?
Thanks for having me on again, Laurenz. You have me on a lot, so I really do appreciate it. 1 to 10, Brad. I don't think that's high enough. I think we need to go to 10 million. And then still, I don't think it's enough. But try not to think about that now. Still laughing at United, so keeping myself calm. But, you know, as the days get closer, I'm getting more scared.
Yeah, honestly, I'm the same. It's weird. And I've tweeted this last night, I think, or was it today? I can't even remember it. I can't even bear watching all of the build-up that's going on. You know, Chelsea are releasing video after video after video about it, interviews with God knows how many people and stuff. And obviously BT and whoever else, they're all releasing content and almost like previews, promo type things. I can't watch it. I honestly can't watch it. I'm already excited and pooing myself. Do you know what I mean? I don't want to get even more excited because if, and touch wood, fingers crossed, everything I can think of, we do lose, it would just be even more painful if I get more excited. So I'm trying not to get too excited, but it's not working. But Lewis, obviously, thank you as well for joining, as always. I'm a big fan of the Tash being back, by the way. Reminds me of the good old days. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, mate, don't. On my life. I just realized, fuck that, man.
Most of you viewers will have no idea what I'm talking about, which makes it all the more funny in my opinion.
Fucking the Carlton Banks Tash back again. CBA, man.
Exactly. But first of all, how you doing? How you been? And obviously, man's going out to Porto tomorrow. No, not tomorrow. Saturday morning.
Maybe. Bro, you're talking about being tense for the Champions League final. I'm being tense about my PCR test. They need to hurry up and get this thing sorted. That's the only thing that's holding me back from actually being able to board this flight. It'll probably still get done in 24 hours. No, yeah, it's in the lab now, but it's like, yo, it's been there since 8 a.m. You want to hurry up and get this done now because like, I need this done by tomorrow night, innit? But yeah, week's been, I guess. If we win the Champions League, it'll be a great week. If we don't, just throw it all in the bin and we move on, I guess.
Hey, you can only put it that way. I mean, it's weird. Like, everything just depends on this shit. I mean, like, all of our happiness, at least for a few weeks, will just simply depend on this, no matter what happens around that in life, let's be honest. And it's probably not a healthy lifestyle to live, but it's the lifestyle we chose, or the lifestyle chose us, whatever you want to word it as. But there's so much to talk about today. There's so much to talk about. Before we get into any of that, if you're new here, ladies and gentlemen, please be sure to subscribe. That'd be massively appreciated. Whether you're watching this live right now or once this has turned into a video, of course, please be sure to subscribe. We're on the road to 15K, I suppose. So make sure you get subscribed, smash the like button as well. And of course, use the super chat function if you want to support the channel, if you want to make sure that we do discuss your messages, because we'll have to get through a lot of things today. So I'm not sure if you're going out of context, how much I can involve it, because that might get difficult, because we're probably already going quite long. Let's see. But why don't we start with the elephant in the room? And the elephant in the room, well, I suppose we have two elephants in the room. Big ass room, this. But, Champions League final is one of them. But the other one is bloody Romelu Lukaku, because Mr. Conte won the league and was like, yeah, I'm off. Had enough now. I mean, obviously, Inter struggling for money. We all know that Conte does not like life when he doesn't get at least 15 summer signings. So, obviously, he was off. Fair play to him. But, Romelu Lukaku's Instagram message was the most obvious goodbye message I've ever seen in my life. That wasn't an official goodbye message. Romelu Lukaku is coming to Chelsea this summer, isn't he? Gone. Is he not?
I really hope he does, man. I like Lukaku a lot. I know a lot of people, well, not a lot of people, I'd say. A few people would prefer Haaland or Kane. But I think if we're actually being realistic, Kane's not happening. Same thing with Modric. It's just not happening. And then Haaland is like, are you really going to break our wage structure for this guy? And we need an experienced striker, We've got so many young attackers. We need experience up there. Lukaku is a bit of a shit house as well. He's good for this league. I really do like him. When the links with the strikers getting announced, at first I wanted Haaland, but then I don't know. After thinking about it, I really wanted Lukaku, and everything's looking good. I think he would have stayed if Conte stayed. Conte's gone, so that's massive for us. Inter need money. I think it's around 80 million they need, if I'm not mistaken. People say they can sell Lautaro, they can sell Barella, etc. But who's going to buy them? We got to still remember pandemic times, so not every club has money. So Lukaku probably could cover all that in one transfer. And Lukaku is back in the Prem with Chelsea, man. It's meant to be. He loves the club. I think a lot of us still love him. So, yeah, I'm really happy about it, Laurenz.
This is what I don't know. Does he actually still love the club or not? Because I swear I've seen there were some dodgy comments when he was at United.
That love don't disappear. Jose had to say a bunch of anti-Chelsea stuff as well when he was at United. It just is what it is. You got to make the fans feel happy and like you care about them first and foremost. But the love is still there. You remember I don't know if you've seen the video when he first stepped on Stamford Bridge and he was nearly in tears. That sort of stuff doesn't disappear. And I don't expect that to be any different. He's going to come to Chelsea and he's going to feel like this deal was 4 years too late and his time at Chelsea was 11 years too late. He's unfinished business at the club. He's Premier League proven. He's gone to Serie A, a league that is very defensively minded and thrived in it. He has carried Inter Milan's attack for 2 seasons. That he is everything that we need and more. He's a bully. He isn't just a striker that holds up the play. He can run in behind as well. He's very multi-dimensional as well, which suits Tuchel excellently. His link-up play has improved tenfold. Everyone could drop the dead first touch thing because that was just a big issue with Manchester United because they let him get massive for no reason. Conte streamlined him and turned him back into the old Romelu Lukaku. But now he's even more dynamic and he's even more experienced. This is everything that we needed in a striker. He fits the Didier Drogba mold, if you want to call it that, and everything. He scores goals, creates goals, brings the best out of the players around him while maximizing his own finishing and his own ability in the final third as well. I can say all the positives I want about, but we've been calling for this transfer to happen for a while. I wanted him over Morata when the time was right, but we didn't get him, and we've been made to pay for it for the last 4 years since. So now the opportunity's there, and he's actually for a much cheaper pay packet than I really thought he would have cost. There is no reason why we don't go in for him. I want this sorted before the Euros.
See, that's the thing. And I want to big you up as well. I say big you up, but just clarify, because you're not one of these many people that 2 months ago wanted Haaland and were like, Lukaku is dead, get Haaland. You was always saying you actually want Lukaku over Haaland. I still think that's a bit crazy, but I understand it from a financial perspective. Just if they cost the same money, I don't understand why anyone will pick Lukaku over Haaland.
It's not just financial. It's also like Lukaku's more experienced and he's ready now and he's Premier League proven. I think there's no doubt that he comes into Premier League and instantly hits the ground running. I think Haaland takes a lot longer to adapt, and that's what the problem is. That with the price tag that he would cost as well. That's why it doesn't seem as feasible for me. It's a mixture of both. You combine them together, and Haaland deal just don't seem worth it from our perspective. Lukaku is exactly what we need right now. We need players that have experience right now. We don't need any more potential. Haaland is great potential, and his ceiling is probably way higher than Lukaku's is. But we aren't ready to take that risk right now. We can't wait any longer. We need experience and we need instant success. And Lukaku isn't still going to be 2 years and that's it. 5 years, you could still get the best out of him as well. His style of play right now is multi-dimensional, but as he gets older and he does lose those legs, he will become much more of a target man, and he'll be coached to become more of that sort of striker as well. So I still don't see how his play would deteriorate with age either. So for me, regardless, maybe we won't have the best striker in the world in 5 years' time. We'll still have one of the best strikers in the world.
I mean, that is fair. For me to say Haaland is just potential is a bit crazy considering the amount of goals he scores. It's more like...
it's the Bundesliga, bro. I can't take that leap.
I get that. But, he's also done it in the Champions League. Do you know what I mean? Like, the man's got more Champions League goals than Hazard and has played literally 2 seasons.
I get that, but you don't... Do you play low blocks regularly in the Champions League either? You might face them at times, but do you face them regularly? Not really. In the Premier League, you will face low blocks regularly. And that's the worry for me. It's not that he won't adapt and be able to do it. Like, he's a massive specimen. He'd be the perfect centre forward. But he'd need at least a year, maybe more, to adapt as well. Also dealing with the media being on his back if he doesn't hit the ground running for £150 million, which I think would happen. And that'll be the first time his mentality is seriously being tested. There's too many variables for me. Meanwhile, Lukaku, I know what he can bring. I know that he can do it in the Premier League. So why am I waiting?
No, I agree with you. And ever since today, Dortmund secured Champions League qualification, in my head, Haaland was out of the picture. Because before that, I was like, yeah, they can all talk about the 150 million. If they don't make Champions League football, it will be less than that. Because he will find a way out, and him and Raiola will force their way out, and it will not be anywhere near that much money.
Raiola's another reason as well. Like, we've seen the stuff with Donnarumma. Imagine, like, he balls out for 2 years, and then what's his name? Raiola wants this stupid ass 1 million a week contract and then probably a 25 million agent fee on top of that or some stupidness. I could see that happening with him. At least Lukaku ain't got Raiola anymore. He's got, what is it, Rock Nation Sports or something? That's who he's with now. But there are a lot more.
I didn't even know he changed Raiola.
Yeah, that's another reason why I'm more interested. We're not taking a Raiola client now. So we ain't got to deal with that snake anymore either.
Hey, that's a fair shout, to be fair. I will just quickly, and I am for it, Lukaku is the best, somewhat realistic option. I still, obviously, Kane would be better. Would I prefer Lewandowski? That would be tight because of Lewandowski's age. And then it would depend on the fee, right? And Haaland, I've said what I said on that. But my only 2 things that I have on Lukaku, one, what you just said, we know what Lukaku can do. He is Premier League proven. So, obviously, you say you are 100% sure he will hit the ground running, but what if he doesn't? Because his expectations will arguably be much higher than a Haaland, who you still have the excuse for. He's 20, 21 by then. He's never played in the Premier League. You have an excuse there. If Lukaku don't work, there is no excuse. So, arguably, the media pressure, in my opinion, is higher on Lukaku than it would be on Haaland in a way. Only a few months in would it change. Only a few months in, because then the fee becomes a thing. But for the first few months, I think just the age and the being new to the league would let him off a tiny bit. And then someone put it in the chat here. While I disagree with him.
How long did Werner get that? I don't think he got that same patience from the media. And he costs less.
Yeah, but because people weren't so sure about Werner. Do you know what I mean? Like, there were people, how good really is Werner? There's less of that with Haaland. Haaland is more
Werner came in with like 34 goals in all competitions. I think only Lionel Messi had more goal involvements than he did in the entirety of Europe.
That's absolutely true. But Haaland, Werner was a bit older, right? And this was by far Werner's best season. Like, you could argue this was a standout season for Werner. Obviously, all of us hoped that he would just keep potentially improving, right? Exponentially improving. But realistically, it was a standout season. The seasons before that, he scored 15 to 20 goals and missed roughly as many chances as he's missed for us. So, if you just went by last year, yeah. But if you actually looked at his career, it's like, okay, let's see what he can do, if that makes sense. But just to get to Dio Brando's comments here, with the whole coward thing, and I'm not sure if he's actually aiming at that, but that's what I will say. I didn't like how this whole thing happened after the Super Cup back in 2013. I didn't like it. Obviously, there's 2 ways of the story. I'm sure Lukaku will tell it differently to how I know it and how Mourinho told us. But the way I know it is that he missed that. It wasn't like Mourinho kicked him out the next day. The story that I know is that Lukaku, 2 days before the transfer deadline day, asked for a loan move because he didn't back himself against Demba Ba and Fernando Torres. And then we had to get Samuel Eto'o on the last day in, which, worked kind of, but, could have certainly been better. And I still firmly believe we win the Premier League that season if Lukaku just had the bottle to stay and not go on loan. And that is something I still slightly hold against him, but I also will say he was, 23 back then? I'm sure he's a very different man right now. So I shouldn't hold it against him. I'm just saying that's where people get the coward thing from. Because yes, he did bottle it back then. If that story is true, obviously, I'm sure he has a different viewpoint on it, but he hasn't shared that yet. So I don't know that, right? But what I do know, I don't like that. But again, he is 5 years older, 6 years older now. Things are different. I'm sure he's changed. And before I get Con on this, because I'm sure you both have your reactions to what I just explained. I am still sponsored by OneFootball this month. Might even be sponsored by them next month. Big shout out to them. So download the app with the link in the description. Just listen to what I have to tell you in the clip now. I want to say a massive thank you to OneFootball for partnering up with me and sponsoring my channel. Like the name suggests, it's a football app. And trust me, it's one of the best ones out there. You get all the latest football news from pretty much every single team and league all around the world. Team news, live score updates, league tables, fixture lists, everything you could possibly want to know in the world of football, you find it right there. Never want to miss out on any news surrounding Chelsea again? OneFootball has got you covered. As you can see on screen now, all the news is all there in one place. Whether it's the latest injury news, articles before and after games, or of course, transfer rumors. And with the transfer window actually opening and coming up soon, as well, you'll definitely want to make use of that transfer indicator, which not only tells you about all the rumors out there, it also tells you how likely a certain transfer actually is to happen. Like I said, it's honestly a brilliant app that I can only recommend downloading with the link down in the description below. And downloading the app with my link also really helps out my channel. All it takes is literally a few seconds to click that link down in the description below. Doesn't matter whether you're on iPhone or Android, I download the app right there with that link. So again, go down below into the description and download the OneFootball app with my link right now. And of course, Crispy makes a fair comment here. How do I know that story is true? That's just the story that was shared with us from the media, Mourinho. Again, we don't know if it's 100% true. But Con, how do you feel about, the small negatives that I think there are about him, plus the first touch thing? Sure, that could partly be because he just gained as much weight as he did at Man United. There's lots of ways to look at it. I think you and me spoke about this before, Con. Christophe Terreur, the Belgian journalist, recently spoke with Simon Phillips and Dan McCarthy on their podcast and said, well, part of the reason why it looks so much better is also that in Italy you have a bit more space. So let's see whether he would still be this much better when he comes back to the Prem. That is something we'll only find out if we sign him. But everything consider that, I know you just said you really want him and he's brilliant and he solves all of these problems, but why do you think those small negatives that some people might bring up don't outweigh kind of the positives, if that makes sense?
First of all, just touch up on that story you told. For me, I don't really care about that. I don't even care that he loves Chelsea, to be honest. I care that he's world class and I think he would bang in this league. That's what I care first and foremost about. Secondly, about he looks better in Serie A. It depends how you watch football, I guess. Because there's times when 3 or 4 players are around him, he uses his strength, holds them off and plays in Lautaro. I think there's a great assist he's got where he's backs to 2 defenders and he flicks it around the corner for Lautaro. And we miss a player like that, Giroud, he can do that at times, but he doesn't really have the legs. It's kind of, becoming at the end of his career. Lukaku's prime in it. He's a beast. The first touch thing, etc. We've seen Werner, that's a bad first touch. I think Lukaku's just got glorified and a bit meaned. I don't think his dribbling's that bad. I think his dribbling's actually very underrated, to be honest. I think he can drive.
His size for sure.
Yeah, I think he's very underrated in terms of how complete he is, This season racked up, I think it was like 11 assists. Past 6 seasons, I did a tweet earlier about it. He scored 25 goals. I think 5 times out of these last 6 seasons, Who else has done that? How many strikers have done that in world football, And there's a reason for that. He knows how to score. And against low blocks, this guy's going to have a feast. He doesn't care if there's 4 defenders, 5 defenders in the box. He doesn't care. He's big. He will use his strength. And someone like Werner will thrive. Someone like Havertz will thrive with Lukaku because the amount of space he will create for them it's going to be ridiculous. And we need a profile like that. We just need a bully. Look at us with Costa. When we had that bully, it was fantastic, And if we get Lukaku with an even better squad, and I'd say probably Lukaku at the time, right now, is probably better than what Costa was when we brought him, So I just don't see how it can go wrong, And we're going to have them reservations about anyone we sign. Like, oh, what about if he fails? Like, we'll have that with anyone, Like, we'll say, oh, if we sign this winger, will he turn out like Willian or something like that? Like, of course you're going to have the reservations when it's a big fee. You always will, but I think besides Kane, Lukaku's the most safest choice.
Yeah, I know it's your channel as well, but I want to bring up this stat sheet as well from Lukaku this season. And Inter Milan have won Serie A, but this guy has literally carried their entire attack this season. Look, everything, every most attacking stats this season, he's top 4. So this is the sort of striker that we need as well. Someone who's multi-dimensional, someone who doesn't thrive at just one aspect of his game while being a bit average at other areas. This guy is all-round excellent, and he's carried a team to the championship. So I'm all for this signing.
Yeah, I mean, you both make a lot of fair points. Sorry, what's going on?
Sorry, Lewis just said he carried them to the championship. It just
championship. Oh, fuck's sake, Syria. My bad. Allow me.
It's fair dues. It's fair dues. I mean, let's not. And I'm not even trying to take anything away from Inter. Let's not ignore that they bottled the Champions League so hard that they came 4th in the group and had no Europe in January, while all of their Serie A opponents had Champions League football or European football at least. And who knows whether they would have won the league if that wasn't the case. But they did win it in the end, so no complaints. And what Con said there, we need that bully, we need that big man. Because for me, starting a game at 0-0, I'm fine if we have Werner, Havertz, Mount, Pulisic, Havertz, Mount. We win most games like that. But when we need, obviously he's still helpful in those cases as well. Don't get me wrong. But you can go through the last few games. Arsenal, Leicester in the FA Cup, Aston Villa. We got 1-0 down and we did nothing until the last 5 minutes. We did absolutely nothing in all of those games. Like, we barely had any chances after we conceded. In both games, realistically, until the last 5 minutes against Leicester and against Villa. And against Arsenal, we had it all before we conceded. Really. Like, maybe 1 or 2 after that, but nothing major, right? And what were we missing then? Like Con said, a bully, a monster. Just someone that just turns up and just does something. And that's why people say, oh, why would you ever take Lukaku over Lautaro Martinez? Now, Lautaro Martinez, like Lukaku said a minute ago, like Lewis said a minute ago, has been put into Lukaku's shadow so much, man's not even tanned anymore the last 2 years. It's crazy. Like, it's a madness. I never thought that would happen, but it has, right? And also, if you bring Martinez in, we still don't have a bully. And that's still what we're missing. I'm not saying Martinez doesn't bring things that we don't currently have. He would. But not the things that we lack most, in my opinion. And that's what Kane and Lukaku would bring, and Haaland would bring. Even Lewandowski, I'm not sure, is the bully type striker, but Lewandowski is just so good that it will be fine anyway. Maybe even Kane isn't the super bully type, and definitely Haaland and Lukaku are. And I think that's Lukaku's biggest trump that he has, if that makes sense, that he is that bully type, which we just do not have. And even if, sometimes, I mean, Lukaku only played 1 game a week, pretty much all of the second half of the season, right? Even if he doesn't turn up every 3 days, we have so many options. We can still use Havertz up top. We can still play Werner up top against high lines. We do still have those options. And that's, I think the biggest positive. And I saw the question earlier in the chat. If we do get Lukaku, how do we play then? Because what's Timo Werner's future then? Because, and I will say it right now, and then I'll let you comment on it, Lewis. For me, there's 2 options. Either we play 2 up front. I'm not sure he will do that. I know the whole 4-2-2-2, he does that, but I'm not sure whether I don't see Havertz as the wide player in that formation. And I'm really not sure Tuchel will leave Havertz out for Werner. So, but even still, only if we play 2 up top, or we stick to a 3 at the back formation and he can play this left inside forward, is there any chance that Werner can keep playing for me?
Yep.
Is that a problem? Is that okay? How do you see that?
Werner's meant to be at his best when he has someone to play off. Lukaku to me is a perfect player for him to play off. So I'd be interested to see how that partnership works between the pair of them. Giroud didn't really work as much, but Giroud isn't as dynamic. You don't really move around the pitch as easily as Lukaku does. So for me, Lukaku can go and create space by himself, take a defender or two out of the game, and it brings more space in the final third for a Timo Werner or even a Kai Havertz to shine. So for me, it's Havertz and Lukaku, Werner and Lukaku. I feel like either would be an amazing mix-up.
That's fair enough. I mean, for me, it's like, that's the only, not negative really, but I'm like, but I almost feel like we need to sell some of these central attacking players because we just have too many. Do you know what I mean? Like whether we play 4-2-3-1 or 4-4-2 or 4-2-4 or 4-2-2, we almost have too many of these central type players. But obviously only until the second we get one serious injury. Then we need exactly those numbers. But how do you see that, Con? If Lukaku does join, what formation do you think is best suited to us and who plays with and around Lukaku?
I think Lukaku's, he gives you loads of options, to be honest, because he's not just a guy who can hold up play. Don't be fooled by his size. He's rapid. The guy is quick and he can run in behind. And he's a master at doing that too. Like Lewis said, very dynamic, and he's really underrated in terms of how complete he is, man. Honestly, I can't stress enough how complete he is. He's almost there with Kane in terms of completeness, in my opinion. I think you could play a 4-2-3-1, you could play a 4-4-2, you could play a 4-3-3. I think you could play anything with Lukaku. He's flexible like that, you know. If you want him to play the lone striker role, play that big bully like a Drogba sort-esque, he can play it. If you want someone to feed off him like a Werner or Havertz, he can do that as well. He's proved that with Lautaro. So the options are there with Lukaku, man. Like with Haaland, there's still a lot of unknown with him, you know, because of his age. We haven't really seen everything he can do with Lukaku. We've seen it,
sure.
You know. We've seen it in the Prem. We've seen it when he wasn't even at the best of Prem teams. We've seen it when he's been at a decent Prem side. We've seen it when he's played internationally, and we've seen it when he's played in Serie A, you know. So we've got a lot of things to work with Lukaku, and I don't really see much that's wrong with him, to be honest. I really don't.
I mean, you know, just like even if his first touch is better, he still doesn't quite have, like, I don't know, a Harry Kane first touch or a Harry Kane pass, right? But there's obviously very few things that are wrong with him. But you know, we also, like, there is a reason why he's not as expensive as Harry Kane. Do you know what I mean? Like that, there is a reason. But that doesn't mean he's not good enough. That's not what I'm saying at all. And I agree. Like, there's so many options that we can do with him, and you know, it's just up to Tuchel to find the best solution. It's also down to what other players we sign, really. Like, do we sign a centre back or do we sign a DM? If we sign a DM, we can switch to forward the back regularly. If we don't, I don't see how we play a forward the back regularly, personally. Just because I think we need a proper DM to play that successfully over a long period of time. But there's lots going on. And another rumor that has been flying about, although I'm not sure whether it's just a fan-created rumor or whether it's an actual rumor, people are obviously talking about Achraf Hakimi, obviously the right back / right wing back / right mid of Inter Milan. And what a signing that guy will be if we keep playing three at the back. Because, you know, I mean, we've just turned Reece James into the right centre back. You want someone instead of Azpilicueta, oh, well, there you go. Get Hakimi, and you probably got one of the best right wing backs you could ever hope for. But if we go to a forward the back, I definitely don't want Hakimi as my right back. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's one of those. How do you see that, Lewis? First of all, have you heard about it at all? Because a lot of people seem to be talking about it. But again, I'm not sure if it's just a fan made up kind of like hoping type of thing, or whether it's an actual like valid rumor.
I've heard things about Hakimi, but it's been about a lot of different clubs as well. Like, we were linked with him for about a week, and then it was Arsenal, and you're hearing United, PSG. Bunch of different clubs are interested in Hakimi. He'll probably leave in the summer, but to Chelsea, I'm not really as sure. I wouldn't mind. I don't really know enough about him to really say whether I'd be interested in him or not. But we already have two right backs. It's a case of getting depth for the right wing back position. I can understand that, but I don't think Azpi's at the position where you'd sell him. You maybe slowly try and integrate Reece James more as a starter, but I still think even if that's the case, Azpilicueta is strong for depth.
No, I'm not saying Azpi leaves, but Azpi doesn't start anymore then.
Yeah, but I feel like that's the same regardless, unless we stick to a back five. I think that's going to be the case anyway. So that wouldn't make much change to me. So again, right back, I wouldn't mind, but we have other places that we need to prioritize. Once we get the number 9, I want a tall destroyer DM. I've already said that's my next profile. And then after that, go for a leader at centre-back if there is one. Go for a full-back. Go for another left-back if we can bin off Alonso and or Emerson. Maybe a creative winger. But the only things we really need are a number 9 and a destroyer number 6.
Yeah, I would agree. Again, like you said, unless we stick to the 3/5, then we need a wing back, in my opinion. We firmly do. But I suppose if we make Reece James a centre back, then I suppose we don't need a centre back at least. I don't know. It's a tough one. How do you see that?
Back 3, and even then, I'm not sold that Reece James at right centre back anyway. I think his passing's just a bit too sloppy for my liking. Seen it in the cup final, the Leicester game 3 days after, a few times in the Villa game for me, and for me right now, that's enough. Like, I don't need to see him at right centre back anymore. At least not right now. Not with the Champions League final. If we play him, go on.
The passing problems against Villa were once he moved into midfield and not at centre back anymore.
First half, I thought his passing was still sloppy regardless, but I hear what you're saying in midfield too. But midfield, we barely played him in there, so I could at least understand that. Right centre back, he's good at closing down players. He kept Vardy in his pocket in the FA Cup final, and credit to him, he was one of our best players. But the passing is just too much for me. I see it happen too often, and it's too much of an exposing point for me. So I wouldn't really back that.
Fair. For me, that's an experience thing, and that will come once he's more used to playing the position.
Yeah.
But Con, how do you see that? The whole Hakimi stuff. Do you think that's an actual possibility for Chelsea? Would you want him if it was, or how do you see that whole situation?
Hakimi, what a player. Yeah. Great player. Let's be honest, it's just not happening, is it? Chelsea won't want him enough where we would fight off the other clubs that are interested. It's as simple as that. There's no chance in hell we're getting Hakimi with Reece James. There's just no way. Especially with Aspilicueta still here. I would love Hakimi. I don't care about having too many options. I think he's fantastic. Especially if we stick with a back 3. Oh my gosh. We've got one of the best wing backs in the world. But I just don't see Chelsea wanting him enough to fight off the other interests. And I'm happy with Reece, man. He could play in the back 3. I want him to progress as the right back. I think he can do.
Yeah, in the back 4, he's 100% the right back.
Yeah. And I don't really see us playing back 3 too much next season, to be honest. I think that's more of a quick fix. I think we've all discussed that already, so I ain't going to go into that any further. But yeah, it's one of those that come around. I haven't seen any journalists talk about Hakimi to Chelsea. I think that is definitely fan made up. But, it's always nice to say about a Marquinhos or a Hakimi every window, just to get the blood pumping.
Exactly. It's just fun to talk about, really. And I mean, there was a few journalists that have thrown Hakimi's stats out there, some Chelsea journalists. So even though they weren't saying we're signing him or we're interested in him, they were talking about it. So I suppose at least fueling the fire, shall we say. And Tchouaméni is still one of those. I know Jester keeps going on about it, but I still don't really know how seriously I can take that league. I mean, Cesc Fabregas is still a regular starter and finished 3rd. And this is no dig at Cesc Fabregas. But Cesc Fabregas would not be starting anything in the Premier League anymore, in any top team. He's just too old and too slow. And the fact that in a team that finished 3rd and not far behind the champion, and he's a starter when he's fit, doesn't tell me that I need any midfielders from that league. And I know Aura is technically gifted, sure, but you need to be more than technically gifted. Do you know what I mean? And again, but also I will totally admit I haven't seen enough of Tchouaméni, but it's still, that's why I'm so hesitant about that whole rumor, because I'm like, well, do you know what I mean? Obviously, the good players have come from Liga to other leagues, and people will even say Hazard. Yeah, but okay, guys, that's 8 years ago now. 9 years ago now. So Liga was different, Premier League was different, football was bloody different. Do you know what I mean? Excuse me. So that's a tough one. Obviously, just to talk about a few other rumors that are obviously still flying about, the whole Harry Kane thing. That But the other option I will mention, to go to the managerial merry-go-round, right? Conte's left Inter, we know that. Allegri is joining Juve because they're going to sack or have sacked Pirlo. Zidane has decided to leave Real Madrid. Tottenham are in talks with Pochettino returning to Tottenham, which I think is the most embarrassing thing for both I've ever heard in my life. Even though he will make them better again if he comes back, it's still embarrassing for both sides, in my opinion. Especially the fact that Pochettino didn't win the league. Like, if he won the league and then he was like, I don't really enjoy my life here, fair enough. But you bought it, right? You bought it. And then to go back to Tottenham, that's just the nail, in my opinion. But what if, Lewis will be here in just a second. What if Spurs get Poch back and that means Kane stays? And we know that Guardiola actually likes Lukaku. Is there then a worry that Lukaku might go City?
Nah, I think if Chelsea want him, Chelsea get him. As much as Man City is appealing, I think sometimes a certain club's more appealing to a player, you know? It's like Eden Hazard. Like, I think PSG came sniffing around, I think, a year or two before he went to Real Madrid. Never really showed any interest in that, because if he was going to leave the club he loved, it was going to be for the one he always dreamed of playing for. And that's the same with Lukaku. He dreamed of playing for Chelsea, you know? So as much as Man City's good, and they are probably a better team, well, even probably, they are a better team than us right now, I don't think Lukaku leaves there. And Pep might like him, but I don't see how Lukaku fits into Pep's system, to be honest. I think he might just be being respectful to Lukaku there.
Maybe. I mean, maybe that's a shout. And that, I'm not sure if he has said that, Matt Law, but I mean, hey, Spurs might also be considering Pep Guardiola, but it's still not happening. So,
yeah, why would Conte leave the Serie A winners, whose squad's arguably better than Tottenham's, right, to go to another club who won't invest in players? That makes zero sense.
Exactly. I mean, I haven't seen this, being stated, but that's where I'm expecting Conte to go. That's what I'm expecting. What do I think about the Sule links? Now, Sule is a weird one to me. So now, I don't want us to sign Sule. He's half the player he was before he tore his ACL, and he's not even a starting centre-back for them anymore. And they got rid of two other centre-backs. Like, no, I'm not getting their bloody third choice option. I'm not having it at all. If we're signing up our players, Lewandowski and nobody else, end of discussion. I'll take Kimmich, but that's it.
Not even a Goretzka now?
I take him as well, to be fair. But but at least they're first choice players, not like Sule. Like that's not it. That really is not it. To be fair, just to make a fair point, if Pep does go for a striker from Inter, it would be Martinez. But if City get Martinez, do Inter feel the need to sell Lukaku? Probably not. So that's why we need to at least move quick. We need to make sure we move quickly and don't bottle it. And ladies and gentlemen, by the way, if you're still watching this, if you're here right now, be sure to subscribe. That'd be massively appreciated, of course. And smash the bloody like button. Let's get to at least 100 likes, because we need to make that happen. Come on, guys. Go down below, smash the like button, and make that happen. A few other things that, are just the craziness that is football these days. We spoke about, Conte already. We spoke about Poch already. We spoke about Zidane already. Apparently, Conte going to Real Madrid is happening. Do you guys think Zidane goes straight back into football and goes to PSG, or is he taking a break? Well, what's happening there, Louis? What do you reckon?
I'm not sure, because the news only just came out yesterday. And
100%.
There's the news Pochettino's already looking to leave PSG, which is what it is. Would he go to PSG? I could see it, but I'm not sure. Everything's massive speculation right now, at least. So I can't really say outright. I mean, if they got rid of Ole, I think Zidane would have been a decent choice for them, to be honest. But I don't see United getting rid of Ole. If anything, they'll probably give him an extension because their board don't really care like that. Yeah, I don't really know where Zidane ends up going. I was more surprised that he was actually going to leave at the end of the season, but him leaving's all the more reason why I think Eden Hazard's gone in the summer too.
Aye, so you still backing that? Chelsea bringing Hazard back?
All depends on the price tag and the wages and his role in the squad. It all depends 100%. On those three. I'm not saying it's guaranteed to happen. If anything, it's probably the reverse. But it could happen if he wanted to be a squad player and if he wanted... Because he knows he's probably 1 or 2 injuries away from the end of his football career. So wherever he goes next, he probably doesn't want to play a lot regardless, at least not until he has full trust in his body. So if he came back to Chelsea in a squad role, took reduced wages, I see no reason why it wouldn't be a decent option for us.
I agree. Although, to be fair, most of the injuries at Madrid is actually picked up in training, as far as I'm aware. So, I'm not sure how much less games I will actually save him. It's a tough one, Con, because I think
if
Lewis
he came back and our training regimen was better and it kept him more fit, fucking hell, we just got Eden Hazard back. Like, it turns into that. And then, are we even going to debate bringing Eden Hazard back if the injuries aren't that much of a worry anymore?
Hey. Like I said, I still don't see him ever getting over those injuries anymore, sadly. But, I suppose if we do sign him, I hope so. And if we don't, personally, as much as I love him, not really that bothered. Con, how do you feel about the whole Hazard thing before we get on to a little bit of talk about that Europa League final last night? Because that was quite funny, wasn't it? But Con, how do you actually see the whole Hazard thing?
With Eden, it's hard because there's a lot of sentiment there. I love Eden. He's a club legend. After John Terry, Lamps all left, I think he was that player that everyone loved, And it's a gamble because, like Lewis said, if you get him back, you can get him fit and healthy. You've just got one of the best players in the world playing for you again, But if it doesn't work out, then, the money you spend, it'd probably be around 50 mil, around that mark. I'd take a guess. That's what I saw. The contract length, the wages.
That's ridiculous. If we pay 50 million, I'm not sure if that's euros or pounds, but if we pay 50 million regardless of the currency for Eden Hazard, we're idiots.
As much as I would take Eden Hazard back, right? I think I'd be a hypocrite if I said fans shouldn't be sentimental when it comes to Lampard getting sacked for the good of the club, So for the good of the club, we should buy a player who's fit and ready to go. And maybe like a Grealish or a Sancho if we're looking for a winger, then an Eden Hazard, Because we can't be sentimental about one thing and then the other thing we're not, We can't pick and choose. We just have to be ruthless. And it pains me to say it because I'd love to see Eden at the Bridge again.
I want to add to that as well and say that's why I'd only take Hazard back if it wasn't a favourable fee for Chelsea. Because for me, it's like we are spending money this summer, but we aren't going to spend as much as we did last summer. A big amount of that's already going to go to Romelu Lukaku, and we still need to get a DM. That's why I'm saying if we still want to get that creative winger and we're looking for a cheaper option, hell, even if it's a loan deal for a season, I think Eden Hazard would be a safe bet for us. But he'd have to be a squad option. That's the only reason why. But I agree with everything else that you're saying as well.
Lads, question.
Go on.
If it was a loan move with an obligation to buy for 50 million, would you take it?
No.
Obligation. If a loan deal with an obligation to buy.
Yeah, so you have to pay him.
How much?
50 mil.
That would be risky. Nah, I don't think it would be smart. My heart's saying fuck it, go for it, Eden, but nah, it wouldn't be smart. It would only be smart if it worked. If it don't work, it's a sticky one for us, and we just thrown some more money in the bin.
Yeah, I mean, I guarantee if something like this were to happen, I guarantee there would be a clause in there. You would have to pay a certain amount of games for us that season for that clause to be triggered, that he has to cost 50 million, because if he's injured all season, I'm sure we would never agree to it. Obviously, Con didn't give us those stipulations now, but I'm saying if this were to become reality, those stipulations would exist, in my opinion. And just this comment quickly by Jester. He's saying he would rather have Salah back. I mean, sure, in theory of a player right now, yeah, but no. I don't like Salah and I don't want him at Chelsea.
How much do you reckon it'd cost?
Don't know. Too much.
Probably be more than Lukaku, wouldn't it?
Salah. Yeah, rival. Even if he's got 2 years left on his deal, the fact we're a rival to Liverpool, they would bend us over backwards for that. So, nah. I wouldn't take Salah either. Plus, too much of a system player for me. Great finisher. Well, yeah, great finisher. I will say that, especially compared to the finishers that we have in our squad. But he's another one that needs a lot of chances to score. And yeah, I'm good, We have too many players for that.
Exactly. Although it would be quite funny if we got Salah and Lukaku. If Salah was the selfish player that he is, with Lukaku next to him, I think he'd be getting slapped up in training every day. So that would be quite funny. But before we get into the Champions League final and to talk about that, because, like I said earlier, that's kind of the big elephant in the room. And what we're doing right now is kind of distracting ourselves from the nerves ahead of Saturday, because I think we're all feeling them. But what about that Europa League final last night? I know maybe it's a bit early to laugh, just in case something goes wrong Saturday. But hey,
Yes!
losing a Champions League final to Man City.
Process. Let's go.
Exactly. Losing a Champions League final to Man City can never be as bad as Manchester United losing a Europa League final against Villarreal, who literally finished 7th in the Liga and have never won a European trophy ever. That's like, someone made the comparison, that's like Real Madrid losing a Champions League final to Everton. That's literally what it is. Like, it's an L. It's a big L. And I was not for sure. I'm sure he received plenty of abuse. I'm not happy about that. But to see De Gea bottle it, I was very happy, because I really disliked De Gea. He made too many good saves against us. So I was very happy to see him right in the mud. But obviously, we saw both. Maybe you guys saw all of our tweets last night. We were all having a good time. How did you see that game go, Con? Did you watch it all, or was you more following it on Twitter?
No, I watched it. Second to last game of the season, really, isn't it? So you kind of have to. It was really boring as well. Thank God for the it was so boring. Like, Moreno scores from a set piece, Cavani scores some scuff goal, and then there's nothing else happening, And then the penalties, nobody missed, man. What was going on with that? The keepers were awful, I swear. And I was so nervous. I don't know about you two, but I was like nervous for Villarreal. Like, I was like getting butterflies and everything. So if Chelsea go to penalties, they ain't gonna be able to breathe.
No, honestly, it's crazy.
It was like watching paint dry. I slept through the second half. I'm not even lying to you. I got to half time, and the next thing I know, it's the 75th minute. And I probably I missed the equaliser, but I missed the equaliser. There's nothing to it. 120 minutes of boring sideways football. Two teams playing defensively minded, and then you got like a clown manager who doesn't make a sub for 100 minutes, but then he's complaining about fixture pile up 2 weeks before.
And he takes off Pogba as well. He took off Pogba.
His subs were hilarious, and they're going to give him an extension after all of this as well, which is the maddest thing too.
That's their basically saying.
I was going a bit mad when Vuli didn't save that short penalty, because how he gets so much on it and doesn't save is ridiculous.
That's funny.
Yeah, both De Gea and Rulli, to be fair, both of them had howlers in the penalty spot.
True, but I swear De Gea didn't even get on the end of one. Like, he didn't even touch one. Did he touch one, maybe?
No, there was like two that he got hands to, and it still went in.
Yeah.
And I was like, bro, this guy, man. There's a reason why he ain't saved a penalty in like 6 years or something.
Honestly, since 2016, the man hasn't saved a pen. How mad's that? And I read the stat. Not Jordan. What's his first name? Dean Henderson, is it? The goalie, anyway. He saved, 8 of the 18 penalties he's faced in his career. That's crazy. Like, in comparison, how would you that's an L?
Yeah,
but hey, let's not judge because.
At Sheffield, Dean Henderson, I remember he was just saving everything, every pen. Like, I can't remember him conceding a pen at Sheffield.
Yeah, no, 100%. Like, that's it. But at the same time, I don't want to talk too much about that, because Mendy doesn't have the best pen record. We know Caballero does, so I don't really want to see those stat comparisons on Saturday if we don't make a goalie sub. Do you know what I mean? But it was very funny. And big up Unai Emery. Beating Unai Emery in the European final isn't for everyone. Big up Buddy Tiasari. And I want to say that again, because there's a lot more people here now than there were at the beginning. Reports have come out by not just any reports, but an interview by Eddie Newton, of course, formerly of Chelsea. I think he left, didn't he? Am I mixing it up now? No, he did leave, right, for Turkey. I'm not making it up. Yeah. But obviously, he was part of the Chelsea coaching staff, and he was part of the youth setup earlier. And like years ago, he was telling Chelsea, don't sell De Bruyne. We did. We know how that went. Anyway, he said that Sarri was literally wanting to bring Mount back. So, maybe nothing would have changed if Lampard didn't leave. Who knows? Didn't turn up. Who knows? But hey, I don't want to take a dig at Lamps at all. Did a great job last season. Well, let's move on to the big one. Champions League final, Saturday. It's literally 49 hours to go until kickoff.
Mm-hmm.
I'm bricking it. I am bloody bricking it. And because I'm not going to speak to either of you probably before the final anymore, we do need to talk about that, because there's a lot of things to talk about. There's things to talk about selection. There's things to talk about with how to approach the game, how we're feeling ahead of the game, just to inform everybody. Both Edouard Mendy and N'Golo Kante were in training yesterday and both travelled out to Porto. Both are expected to be fit to start the game, which is, of course, brilliant news. But how do we see that then? Let's just go through the team. You know what? Let me get the little website up and we can just discuss the whole thing like we do. Let me start with you, Lewis. Obviously, Mendy in goal, right? And I know you're you. So what about the centre-back three then?
For me, I'm saying I want Aspi at right wing-back for this game because I want us to be a bit more defensively solid for this one. With City playing a high line, I think we're going to be dealing with a lot more of the pressure in this game. And Aspi really did thrive in the 2 legs that he played at right wing-back. Even if it did look like he was getting done a bit in the first leg, he did recover well and he had Christensen with him at right centre-back too. So that's what I'd want to go for. To be honest, like spoilers already, I'm going for the exact same 11 from the second leg against Real Madrid. I wouldn't make any changes from that. That would be my 11 for the game. So for me, Christensen, Silva and Rudiger at the back.
Fair dues. That's fair enough. I'll give my thoughts in just a second. Con, what about you? Would you agree with that?
I'd replace Christensen with Zuma. Joking, Lewis.
Zuma.
I'm joking, bro. I don't even want to think about this, man. Did we play Aspi at right centre back? Like, I rate Christensen. I think under Tuchel has been great, but he hasn't played. That's the only thing I worried about. It just hasn't played.
Yeah, I hear that. A lot of people are worrying about that too, and I get that as well. It's a hard one, but for me, it's like I don't back Reece James at right centre back. I already said because of the passing, and I think with Reece James at right wing back, it did work against Mendy in the last game, but I don't expect Mendy to start the Champions League final. I think it'll be Zinchenko, and that'll be a different test. So for me, I would prefer to just go for Azpilicueta and keep us more defensively solid.
No, I get what you're saying, bro. I get what you're saying. And if Christensen played, this past few games, I would have happily put him in there because I rate him highly. But I don't know, against City, chucking a player who hasn't played for a while, it worries me. It does.
Did you see Matt Law's team? Man was dropping Thiago Silva and starting Christensen instead of him.
What? No way.
Yeah, that's Matt Law's team.
This is prop even I can't get behind. Oh my gosh. Mad.
It's crazy. I mean, I think the one thing we can all agree on is that Rudiger starts left centre back.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And that Thiago Silva starts centre back. I think we can all happily agree on that.
Yeah.
And I think it's all about this one. You don't seem too convinced, Con. Obviously, Lewis would go Christensen here, Aspi there. I will say this. I am not totally against Christensen playing here, but I want Reece James to play here. And I will explain to you why right now. I know Lewis just basically disagreed with me here completely in terms of passing stability. I know he messed up a few passes, but I think that's because he's trying much more risky passes than Reece, which may be a bad idea, but also gives us something that we don't have when Aspi plays right centre back. But against City, but when we have Aspi at right wing back, our ball retention is not dreadful, but significantly worse than when we have Reece, because Reece is so secure on the ball on that right wing spot. I know he's too safe and he doesn't play it forward enough sometimes, but he still never loses the ball. It just does not happen. And against City, who press us, when we win the ball back, it's important that we keep the ball and don't lose it in bad positions. Hence why I want Reece James at right wing back, because he helps both the midfielders, whoever they may be. We'll talk about that. He helps both of them to give them a more secure option. If you pass it wide to Aspi, that might get lost. And that's not a criticism of Aspi. He's just not that type of player like Reece James is. There's a reason Reece James played nearly a full season for Wigan at DM and won their player of the season and was in the Championship team of the season. Obviously, it's a different level than the Champions League final. I do understand that, but still, there is something to it. And I just need that stability and that ball retention ability at right wing back. So for me, we can discuss whether it's Aspi or Christensen at right centre back, but for me, Reece James has to start right wing back for those reasons. Discuss. Let me go with you first, Con.
I think that's what Tuchel will go for. I think Aspi will play I think Aspi will play right wing back. I don't think it'll be James. And it'd be whether it's James or Christensen who start right centre back, to be honest. But I won't reach. See, this is the thing, I suppose.
You really think so, considering the last 2 times we played City, it was Aspi right centre back, Reece James right wing back.
Yeah, but
I don't think either team plays similar to the way they did the last 2 times we played each other. Both managers tried different things so they couldn't figure each other out at the end of when it got to the Champions League final
100%.
anyway.
But that part we still kept the same now, didn't we?
We kept the same, but if we're going to be real, I think everything's subject to change when it comes to this because neither manager's trying to get figured out.
yeah, I agree.
I think it will be Aspi right centre back. That's what I believe.
Lawrence, is this a team that we want, or is it a team that we
This is the team we want, but now I put it up how I think Tuchel will line it up. I think he will go like this. Just because, I don't know, he will not start Aspi, and I'm pretty sure he will want to have Reece James here for the similar reasons why I would like him here. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's what I think. You think it's going to be the other way around, Con? You think it's going to be like this?
Yeah, I think it will be.
Hey, it might be. I honestly don't know. I'm not sure how we're going to find a compromise between us 3 then. But,
yeah, I was gonna. Yeah, no, you already know I'm gonna save James anyway. I don't want to sound like I got an agenda. I'll leave it.
No, I get what you're saying, and I think you make a good point. I think if you want the more defensive stability, you can certainly make a case for don't play Reece. Not because he's not necessarily defensively stable, but the others are just more out-and-out defenders. Although I think Reece has done defensively so good against Leicester and Villa. Obviously, Villa didn't really threaten us much, fair enough. But still, I think Reece did a really good job at right centre-back, defensively, most importantly. Man did not get beaten by nothing and no one. And, that's very important here. So there's certainly a case for him to be made. And like I saw a few people in the chat talk about already, do you really want to play Christensen for the first time after a month? Look how that went for Kovacic the last 2 games, starting for the first time after a month. That was a whole mare, twice in a row.
I'm sure they said that about Ryan Bertrand back in 2012.
Yeah, but he wasn't injured. He was just not playing. That's different, though.
Both are still lack of sharpness, though.
Oh, yeah, sure. But you're physically at least at your best. And if you were injured for a month, you're not.
Yeah,
I guess in fitness-wise, not necessarily.
Not like he's been injured the full month because he was on the bench for the Aston Villa game, and to be honest, I thought he should have started that one. In all honesty, Leicester game as well. I'm not sure if he was on the bench for that one as well.
He was not.
Oh, okay, fair enough. We'll leave that then. But yeah, actually, wait, one set. Yeah, he wasn't. Fair enough. But yeah, thing still stands. He's been enough to start for the last 10 days at the very least.
Yeah, no, I get that, but I still think I know Bertrand, but that's different. Like we can't compare things to 2012 now. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, my agenda's just running, isn't it?
Yeah, no, I hear you, bro. Yeah, I get it. I respect it as well. Hey, if I think about obviously disregarding what we want, I would be very shocked if Tuchel started Christensen. Simply for the reason I just said, he hasn't played for too long, in my opinion, to all of a sudden be thrown in a final. And if it was Thiago Silva, that's different. Thiago Silva is 36, has experienced everything there's experienced as a footballer. Christensen is not quite that.
I think something we need to remember as well. Do you remember what game Christensen got injured and what happened when he did get injured?
Oh, yeah. That's a fair point. Yeah, Christensen ain't started for me. Sorry, Lewis.
Fair enough. That is what it is.
Hey, maybe he does, and maybe you can run the agenda and you can take it to your grave in 50, 60 years. Who knows? Hey, if it works out, it works out. But I think we're all in agreement that Chilwell starts here, though, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I think we're also all in agreement that if he's fit, Kante starts in midfield, right?
Yes.
And now there is a bit of a question. Let's see if there is. I see a lot of people even agreeing on this, somewhat surprisingly to me. And the number's already there. I think Jorginho should and will start next to it.
Yeah, 200% starting, yeah.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, it has to be Jorginho. Yeah, for me, it was Jorginho, and it depends on who you have next to him, but you need a sitter and a presser and a midfield pivot. Kante and Kovacic are 2 pressers that leave space in behind, so I want Jorginho and Kante.
especially
I
based
agree.
on how rusty Kovacic was in the last game.
Yeah, I
agree.
agree with Lewis. I think it's Jorginho and in this game.
Oh, fair play. Like I agree personally. For me, it's not even just Jorginho and for me, it's just Jorginho and Kante. End. Right. Personally, if Kante is fit, obviously, and fit enough to start, but for me, it's. I mean, I know Jester seemingly isn't a fan. I'm not sure instead of who, and I'm also sure Jester will not be a fan of the next thing I'll say. But ladies and gentlemen, we have over 300 people watching. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't already and smash that like button. Let me check how many likes we have because we definitely don't have anywhere near enough. And you can already get ready to press the like button right now. We don't even have 100 likes yet. 91 to be fair, so we're not far off. But let's get to at least 150 likes right now. Go down below, smash that like button for me. It really helps me out, brings these videos and this channel to more strangers so we can grow as a channel. So please do smash that like button. Doesn't cost you any money. Barely cost you any time, so please do that. Be massively appreciated, of course. And of course, if you want to, have your input into our team selection here, of course, use the super chat function. That is always massively appreciated. But we have kind of the defensive part of the team done. Let's be honest, because that's sadly what we do. Those are the ones that are down for defending. I suppose the wing backs do attacking, but mostly defending. And then we have the front three, which ruin everything for us. So, yeah, the one thing I'm pretty convinced on, I'm not sure which position he'll play, but what I'm very convinced on is Mason Mount will and should start. Even though maybe the last two games haven't been his best, he still will and should start, should he not?
Yeah, 100%.
Mm-hmm.
Lewis, you as well?
Yeah, Mount has to start for me. Been our player of the season, been our best player going forward for the entire season and our most consistent one. And he keeps the path between midfield to attack ticking, so I want to keep him in this game.
Hey, it makes sense to me. And let me just read that out. Can I bring it up now? It would be more complicated to bring it up now because I'm already sharing the screen. But just a few stats that I saw today, because people say, oh, he doesn't do enough in open play and he doesn't do enough this and he doesn't do enough that. And I know it's only at Chelsea, and you could argue that doesn't mean much because but just a few of the numbers in comparison to the other Chelsea players for Mason Mount this season. Second in goals plus assists, only behind Timo Werner. First in chances created. First in open play chances created. First in big chances created. First in open play passes into the penalty area. First in progressive passes. First in through balls, although I'm not sure that's true. I feel like I read the other day that it's Kovacic, but hey ho. First passes made under pressure. First in switches of play. In shot creating actions. Dribbles completed. Nutmegs. Fouls drawn, progressive carries into the final third, tackles plus interceptions, he's second, also in ball recoveries, and he's first in the successful pressures. If you think Mason Mount has taken an L this season, I think you're the one taking an L. Mason Mount has been fantastic, and even if his last two games have not been all the very best, if there's one player, well, maybe not one player, but one of the few players that I 100% trust to turn up and at least try is Mason. And I know he is not going to be the guy to crumble under pressure, to not try, to not turn up like some players did, for example, in a cup final. That's not going to be Mason. Like, arguably, he overdid it against Leicester in the cup final. Fair enough. But at least he was trying, not like some others. Lewis obviously told us earlier already, basically wants to see the same, 11 that we had against Real Madrid in the second leg, which obviously would then mean Werner and Kai Havertz up top. But what about for UConn? Because we have basically four options, I suppose even five, for the remaining two positions. We have Kai Havertz, we have Timo Werner, we have Christian Pulisic, we have Hakim Ziyech, and we have Callum Hudson-Odoi. Which of those five starts?
Well, obviously Tuchel will start. Werner. Well, no, Timo can't score a goal. Werner up top, so. And for me, it's got to be Pully. I know Pully hasn't been on it, and I've even said on your channel, Laurenz, that he needs to do better. But if Pully's on it, he scores in this game, or he creates a goal in this game. If he's on it, I have more faith in him than any attacker we have by a country mile. We can't not start Pully, man. We just can't. Even if he's not on it, like, we have to take the risk and we have to. We just have to, man.
Interesting. Lewis, your reaction to that?
Well, Christian Pulisic.
Yeah, Pulisic and Werner would be his other front two.
Nah, for me, Pulisic's form towards the end of the season just hasn't been good enough to justify a position in this game for me. I don't really trust him in this sort of match, mainly based off the last few games. Even though it is a high line and his directness could be a very good factor in this game, I also feel like it being a high line means you have to play Timo Werner in this game because these are the sort of games where you get the best out of him. And for me, Kai Havertz has to start regardless because I think you also get the best out of Timo Werner when he has someone to play off. And I think Kai Havertz is that guy too. The link-ups that they were having in the second leg were brilliant from the pair of them. So for me, I wouldn't change that. That's why I'm saying the same 11 from the second leg.
Mate, Lewis, you just said that Pulisic hasn't been, that his form at the end of the season hasn't been great, but then you named 2 players who have been just as bad.
They have been just as bad, but this game suits Werner more. That's why I want him. Like, when you play a high line, you usually get the best out of Werner, which is why I think you just can't drop him in this sort of match.
I agree with the Werner.
Well, for me, it's more just quality. Like, I think Kai Havertz brings more quality to the table than a Christian Pulisic does. Plus, with Pulisic, whenever he's playing, I'm also just worrying about him getting injured. So for me, that's why I'd stick to them as the front three. But I get what you're saying. Like, our whole attack's been disappointing this season. So we'll other than Mason Mount, of course. But if we're going to say that, then there's a question on all of them, to be honest, other than Mason.
Yeah, no, I get that.
To be honest, there is a question on all of them, which is the problem, really. I mean, it's that's the
If we were playing Man City and we were playing a team that sits deep, I wouldn't want Werner in this team at all. I get what you're saying.
Yes, with Werner, 100% agree. Like, he will play, like 100%. But I feel Pulisic has that big game performance in him more than Kai does. I think Pulisic's more likely to be the match winner.
I would have agreed with that until the second leg against Real Madrid.
Exactly, that's the thing. I was going to say
came on and was the best player in the 15 minutes, though.
But that's 15 minutes. You know, he had 15 good minutes against City in the league too, but was dreadful for the other half. He
got an assist in 15 minutes. He put.
I know he did. But it's like the Leicester game. He did get an assist, but he was still poor.
But he still did something, you know.
Of course, but still, Kai Havertz produced that great performance against Real Madrid for a longer period. I know we can't hold that against Pulisic because he didn't get to start, sure, but I still don't think you can hold it against Havertz either, if that makes sense.
I get what you're saying, but if there was a guy who you thought in our attack besides Mount, well, not even Mount because he hasn't really done it that often, who could win us a game, who would it be? It'd be Christian Pulisic, and you'd be lying if you said it wasn't. So you have to.
How many games has Christian Pulisic won us this season?
How many games has Kai Havertz won us this season?
Oh no, don't you prefer him as a super sub?
No, not in a cup final.
What do you mean not in a cup final?
We made that mistake against Leicester.
That could be said for both Havertz and Pulisic though, because both of them came on and we were better.
Yeah, it could be, but we've seen it from Pully, you know. Arsenal cup final last season. As soon as he went off, we lost the cup final, you know. And even Tuchel said himself, like, maybe not starting Pulisic was a bad decision, you know. And for him to say that, you know, he didn't say that about Havertz, did he? He said it about Pulisic.
I hear you. I hear what you're saying. You're making a good case for Christian Pulisic to start. I won't even lie to you.
I just think
Pulisic, Mount and Werner up front. It's not really a bad shout either. I could see either or. Havertz, Mount, Werner, or Werner, Pulisic, Mount. I could really see either of the two, and I'd be happy with that.
One thing that Pulisic would allow us to do is play a more structured 3-4-2-1 and have Mount here, Pulisic here, or the other way around, because that seems to be, for some reason, what Tuchel does all the time for an unexplainable reason in my eyes. And then you put Werner here, which against the high line we know works. But I will say this now, and exactly, I know you said it didn't work for the cup final. That's a low block. It's different. You said who is the one match winner? You're right. Maybe you're right with that one, but you're even more right if you say who's the one guy where you're confident he will come off the bench and do something, and that's 1000% Pulisic and none of the others. But you can make a case for the others to start, and that's why Pulisic, in my opinion, shouldn't start. Because he's the only guy that comes off the bench and I think you're going to change something.
I get that point. But that's just because how good he is, you know? Like, you wouldn't say to Neymar, you're starting on the bench today because you're going to come off the bench and be our best player. Like, you know? I feel like that's the kind of logic you're using.
If Pulisic was consistent in his performances and doing that most games from the start of the game, then obviously we wouldn't even be having a debate right now. And Pulisic would be on the team sheet before Mason.
But then,
I mean, obviously, and I'm not even saying you're necessarily wrong as such, but seemingly both Lewis and myself would disagree. But I just want to throw one name in there, and we haven't even mentioned him really. We've played 2 games against Man City in the last 2 months. Hakim Ziyech scored in both of them. Is it a bit harsh to not even consider him?
Yeah. We spoke about this before, didn't we? And so I think Ziyech should start this game. I think after the Leicester game, I kind of changed my mind because I was a bit angry at him. But no, can even make a case for him to start as well.
But who would Ziyech start instead for you?
I'm not faith in Ziyech yet. So
no, neither do I, but just the games against City just proved that against them that works somehow.
It does, but I feel like if we go for Werner and Ziyech, it's a bit predictable from us. That's why I wouldn't really want to do it, because it would just make our game plan look a lot easier to Guardiola, in my opinion.
I would agree with that. I think those two we all agree that those start. Whether some people think Werner should or should not, as much as we can have a go at him for his performance against Villa, his performance in a cup final, we know that Werner isn't it, especially as a striker. If he plays off here, that's a different situation. But especially when he plays up top against a low block, that's not it. But against the high line, Werner here, that is very much it. If the other players just understand, try to find the man with the pass, which half the time we don't, which is frustrating. But I think because City is City, I think Werner just is an absolute must start. And that's why I turned it like this, because even if it's Havertz, it's going to be more something like this than it will be Werner on the side, like 100%, because Werner just needs to be up there to make those runs. And Werner's life will be made more difficult because the last 2 times we played City, Kyle Walker didn't start and he will tomorrow on Saturday. But still, for me, it just has to be Kai. I know Pulisic does things that none of the others do, but he also does things that none of the others do which aren't good, and that's never releasing the ball and just dribbling into people. And that's what he's done for too long and too often. I know he doesn't always do it, but he does it too much. And against City, we cannot afford to do that. And we just need to be good on ball retention, not try crazy flicks and dribbles and all sorts, and that don't work. And I just feel more safe with Kai in terms of that. But I also know full well it is harsh on Pulisic. It is harsh on Ziyech. The only guy's arguably not harsh on is Callum, but maybe it is even harsh for him because he's barely played for 2 months, 3 months. But maybe that's why it's not harsh, I suppose. But it's difficult. It's difficult. And I'm happy I'm not Tuchel, because whatever he picks, if it goes wrong, people will slay him. And if he picks the right team, or if we win, everyone will say it was genius, even though it might have gone the exact same with another team. So it's tough to call. At the end of the day, what that shows us is that we've got options, but what that also shows us is if any of our front 3 were more consistent, we wouldn't even be having a debate about it. Because if only we had a front 3 where we could just be set on, it's you 3, and there's not even a debate to be had. And we're definitely not in that position either, are we, boys?
See, the thing I just don't get right is I guarantee everybody in this stream, and probably us 3 as well, has said at one point in the last 18 months that Christian Pulisic is our best attacker. And if we truly believed that when we said that, we start him regardless of form.
Yeah, I was really making a good case for Pulisic, but
I wouldn't. Because
would I bench
all that matters in the final. It doesn't even matter how good you are. Otherwise, an underdog would never win a final.
But then again, let's use that Eden Hazard that season when he was terrible for Chelsea, right? If we didn't play him against Tottenham that day because he was on bad form and he wasn't really performing, Spurs, you never know, they could have gave Leicester
a league game, not a Champions League.
But it was massive.
I feel like I'm really sold on Christian Pulisic being a great option for us off the bench in the second half. And I use that second leg against Madrid that you said in this example. We were doing well for the entire game, but we also still missed a little bit of that final end product. And then
Did
Christian
we? Or did we
Pulisic
just not
comes on.
finish?
Yeah, that's what I mean by end product.
Okay.
But we bring on Christian Pulisic. It revitalized the team. It gives a new energy to the side. We start making a lot more chances, and then he sets up the assist for Mason Mount. That's what I'd like to see Pulisic's impact being, and I think you maximize that as well with him coming off the bench. That's why I'm leaning more towards Kai Havertz starting. It's not to put Pulisic down or anything. It's not to even say the quality.
Hazard didn't actually start that game, you know.
Oh, fair.
Which one? The 2-2?
Yeah.
Yeah, he came on at half time.
Oh, I shot myself in the mouth then. Jesus Christ.
No,
Sorry,
but
bro.
but I still think Con makes a fair case. And if you ask me who's our best attacker, I think on ability, I would say Kai Havertz. On form, even though the last 2 games weren't the best, I would say Mason Mount. On danger for Man City, I would say Timo Werner. But I still the super sub thing is one thing. And Pulisic hasn't just done it when he started to me for too long.
Neither is Kai Havertz, bro. You said that you think
He
he's
did
our
against
best
Real Madrid
attacker.
to me. He did against Real Madrid.
Bro, that's blind faith by saying that you think he's our best attacker. Like, where have you got that from?
From just what I see. No of him as a player from Germany and a few games here. But like you can say that about Pulisic, but you can't name me more than 6, 7, 8 games where that's true for Pulisic either.
Burnley, Liverpool, City, Liverpool again, Super Cup, Madrid,
Super Cup.
first leg.
Kante was by far our best player that day.
No, but he was amazing, Pulisic, that day.
I mean, sure, but he didn't win us the game, so.
The only real run of form I've seen off Pulisic, though, was Project Restart.
But he didn't score that hat-trick in the restart.
No. He had that one-off game against
Burnley. That Burnley game was great. Like, we ain't going to take that away from him either. His form after that, though, it was more good.
Valencia, Ajax in the Champions League.
Valencia was good. Ajax, he came off the bench, didn't he?
Yeah, no, he came off the bench, but I'm still saying he was still good before the Project Restart. I think the Project Restart just...
No, he was good. Project Restart, though, was like peak Pulisic. Pulisic didn't really get into the squad when he was first starting under Lampard. Not until after the hat-trick against Burnley. Then we started seeing him integrate into the squad a bit more. And he was still a good attacker. He was our only real winger that could cut inside and also play outside. We had Willian and Pedro who were just extremely predictable, but he was the only one who you could have a bit of a question mark about what he was going to do. But then he had a bunch of injuries, held him down, came back after Project Restart in lightning form, and then he never really recaptured it after the injury. Not until about now, I'd say. And he
lost it again now and had it for 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, Pulisic has never just been Project Restart and that's it. But Project Restart has been the best Pulisic we've seen by a mile, and I don't think we've seen that Pulisic since.
I think we've seen glimpses of it, to be fair.
Yeah, but glimpses isn't enough for a Champions League.
And that's more than he's shown than any of our attacker besides Mount. Them glimpses are them moments. No other attacker can do that for us. And that's why I really want him to start. I know he hasn't been great. I get that point 100%. And if Kai starts, I ain't going to have an issue with that. I'm not going to be shouting about it. But if it was up to me, just knowing Pulisic has that in him. And we've seen it. I know Kai potentially has that in him. But I haven't seen it yet, you know? The Real Madrid game was fantastic. Don't get me wrong. But I feel Pully can be that match winner for us, man. It's hard. I know I'm a fanboy and people might think I'm a bit biased, but if there's someone 1-on-1 in our attack in the final, I'd want that to be Pully. I wouldn't want it to be Fern. I wouldn't want it to be Mount. I wouldn't want it to be Kai. I would want it to be Pully.
For me personally, it's if Pulisic started, it has to be instead of Werner, not instead of Havertz. But you can't not start Werner against City, in my opinion. That's why I'm not like... The way the game went against Madrid, I think if Pulisic starts that game instead of Havertz, we don't play as well. Pulisic himself individually might play as well, but us as a cohesive connected front line, which we had so few times this season. The main reason why that was so good was Kai. And if Pulisic started instead of Kai, I don't think that would have happened.
I get that point, but I want to make a point to counter the super sub bit. I don't think that he's just this amazing super sub off the bench. I think his best two off the bench performances in recent months I can think of is Liverpool and that Madrid game. And it's not that these defenses are tired or anything. They're just clown defenses with high lines. It's not that he's coming off the bench and like is this man super sub. He would have done that from the start because Liverpool played a massive high line and they was all over the place. Real Madrid the same. I think he does that from the start too. I think there's clown defenses and no player really drived at them. It was always passing and getting behind, but Pully will drive. And when a player drives at him,
has the energy to drive for a full game.
But he has 70 minutes in him and he can get a goal in 70 minutes. And then you got Callum Hudson-Odoi, who, by the way, last time played against Man City, gave that lovely ball to Werner. I think he gets stepped on, Callum. I think he could be a massive super sub for us in that game.
Could be, but hopefully we have more than one. I mean, like, it would be good if we had, like, I get that. And I see, Jester saying that here, obviously, he's a big fan of Pulisic as well. Hey, I wouldn't be surprised at all if Pulisic is the guy that wins it for us, but I'm saying he does it from the bench. Because just put yourself in that position right now, both of you. Pulisic starts, he scores 14th minute. And then it's still 1-0 by the time he comes off in the 70th minute. And then we concede an equaliser, and then we have to do all of the rest of the game and extra time without Pulisic because he started, but we had to take him off. Then what? I'd much rather him bring him on after an hour and be there for possible extra time than the other way around. A match decider. I don't want a match decider on a pitch after 10 minutes. I want him on the pitch when it really is decided.
But then to counter that, what about if Pulisic doesn't play? We miss let's say 2 or 3 good chances.
Yeah, but he's missed plenty of chances as well. Like,
I know, but it's still, it's just a hypothetical, that isn't it? I get what you're trying to say there. And it's
how many goals has he scored this season? Like 4. Do you know what I mean? Like, you can't say, Pulisic is this goal scoring machine here.
it's a clever point you made there. Yeah, no, I get what you're saying there.
But genuine question, without taking up, is how many goals has he scored? 3, 4? It can't be more.
Yeah, but what about Kai Havertz?
Oh no, sure. Like, I'm not saying that, but Kai isn't there. But Kai, I'm not starting to necessarily to be the guy that scores. But Kai is the guy that I'm like, without him, I don't trust us to. I see without Kai, I feel like we always have the problem of we get into positions, but then I feel like he's the only guy that makes the right decision in the final third. Everyone else blows it.
Kai does bring that something extra, that bit of intelligence. I don't even think Mount has. Why couldn't Pulisic or Kai be electric like Werner, man? Then we wouldn't have to start Werner. God's sake, man, this guy.
And I think the biggest problem in that is sadly Pulisic's hamstring, because I think he has the pace to do that. He just doesn't have the hamstring to do that, to run and run and run and run like Werner does.
Yeah. I just think Werner's acceleration is ridiculous. I don't know many players who have that acceleration like that.
Yeah, no, exactly. But also he can, like, obviously he's not, I'm sure there's faster players than him in terms of top end speed, but I think there's very few players that are that crazy in acceleration and hold that for so long. The only, like, Werner doesn't show that often. Like, you see Werner sprint and you're like, oh, you're not even that fast. Like, for example, when Ivanovic caught him up, or stayed with him at least. Caught him up is the wrong word, but stayed with him. But when Werner wants to, put on the burners, Matt's putting on the burners. Like, it's Matt. It honestly is, man. Hey, but like, at the end of the day, it's not like we're having the debate who is the best. But like I said, if any of these guys performed as we all hoped they would this season, we wouldn't have this debate, because then they would just be guaranteed to start anyway. And that's been part of the problem. And that's been every game. Like, how many times have we chopped and changed it? Pulisic starts and we don't win because he isn't good. But then Havertz starts and we don't win because he isn't good. And the same has to happen for Werner and even for Mount, and obviously for Ziyech, all the same. That's the big problem. And that's why the one thing that worries me is obviously that, like, I'm confident enough in our midfield. I'm confident enough in our defense, although obviously they have a mistake in them. But the problem is the front three. Like, every game we've played under Tuchel, we should have won. Every single game. And I know we won most, but we didn't win all of them. And chances-wise, performance-wise, we should have won all of them. And it's down to the front three that we didn't. And that's the frustrating thing. And I mean, we started this whole stream by talking about Lukaku for half an hour. That's the reason why we want Lukaku. It's tough. It's tough. But to round it off here, Lewis, first of all, I hope you have first of all, I hope your PCR test comes back and it comes back negative.
Please.
Secondly, have a safe trip out there. And if we're not winning the cup, you might as well not come back, because I don't want to talk to you if you go there and you don't come on with the cup. I'm not.
You think I want to talk to anybody if that happens?
There you go. You know what I want? I want Lewis to like tattoo himself the big ears of the Champions League trophy on his ears, and that's what I want to see.
Well, I've got my mate telling me if Christensen scores the winner, I need to get a tattoo of him lifting the cup. So I'm tempted. I won't
literally
lie,
across your whole back, just Christensen lifting the cup.
See, if I get a photo of that, you lot might as well just mute me on Twitter. Unbearable season is back.
You know, have you never considered buying a Christensen mask? You know, the face mask that they always sell at the shop.
I have, but they don't ever sell one. Like, fucking hell.
You should just produce it yourself, you know? Sell it merch.
Don't tempt me, because that's a good shot. I could get one laminated.
Exactly. I mean, you might have to worry about image rights here, but you know.
If no one asks, no one tells.
Exactly. I won't tell. But yeah, I'm not going to ask a score prediction. I'm not going to score prediction. Let's not be crazy for a Champions League final here. But what is the overriding feeling, Lewis? Confident we're going to somehow scrape this, or scared we're going to bottle it?
Bit of both. It's all about our attack. That's the thing that worries me. Defense and midfield, I can be confident in. It's all about the attack. If we do the same old BS that we always do, oh, God help us. But you never know. Could have a Crystal Palace performance. But please, God, I'm begging you. But we have to wait and see.
I imagine that. 15 minutes in, we're 2-0 up. We're flying. I'll be kicking off. But I would be so scared for the rest of the game until we get a third. I'd be shitting myself. Con, what about you? I mean, I know you're not going. Sadly, I'm not going either. Depressing. But, you know, we're going to have to scrape ourselves through to Saturday, 8 p.m. UK time. And same question as I asked to Lewis. What's the overriding feeling right now?
If I'm being honest, Laurenz, I've pushed it to the back of my head. Otherwise, I won't be able to sleep or do anything. You know, it's so big. And when you love football as much as us, like, this will actually get your emotions going, you know. So right now, I'm not even thinking about that. Like, we ain't even played a Champions League final in my head. Until the day it comes, I'm not acknowledging it at all. I just hope we turn up, man. If we lose with, you know, respect. Lose because City were the better team and not because we was idiots, you know.
And let's not lose on penalties. Like I'd rather lose 4-0 than lose on penalties.
Yeah, if we lose on penalties, find me in a ditch with some needles hanging out my arm.
All right. Do things like that safely, guys, or not at all.
Preferably the latter.
It's mad. One positive, it seems like both teams are going to play in the home kit. Although I say that, we haven't lost a game in the third kit, so maybe that wouldn't be bad to play in. As much as it would be the worst thing my eyes have ever seen if we lift the Champions League trophy in that shirt. Hey, it's better than not lifting it at all. So, you know, because I've seen people talk about this, like that it's going to be home game against home game, but I don't, like, Gazprom have basically posted a picture hinting at it, I think, but I don't think it's been officially confirmed anywhere as far as I'm aware. So it's a tough one. I mean, Jesters is very positive here. 3-0 Chelsea, Christian Pulisic hat-trick. Bro, me? No, not me. Con, Jester, Clutch, them man will have a field day. But hey, I will join the field day and pretend I said it all along. I don't care what anyone says. Exactly. But ladies and gentlemen, I think we're going to leave it here. I'm already nervous. We'll be back tomorrow at 3:30 p.m. UK time with Dan McCarthy. Maybe somebody else, we'll see. For a finalised preview where we discuss more tactics and not spend half an hour or even more about Romelu Lukaku and transfer madness in Europe, or managerial transfer madness. But definitely tune in for that. If you haven't already, subscribe so you don't miss that. Hit the notification button as well so you get notified when we do go live. Smash the like button as well. Let me see how many we have. We have it exactly 150, to be fair to you guys, but let's get it to 200. Come on, we still have nearly 300 people watching, so go down below, smash the like button right now. Help me get 200 likes. That'd be massively appreciated. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, I'm already bricking it. I'm going to be bricking it even more tomorrow. But I do appreciate both Con and, of course, Lewis for coming on. Check out Lewis, Carefree Lewis G, on YouTube, of course, down in the description below. I mean, like I said, man's going to Porto. Check out the vlog. Check out whatever other content he's throwing out. So definitely go down there, subscribe, help him reach 25k subscribers, even though he's a tad bit off. You know, we can make it happen. So subscribe. Of course, follow Con on Twitter, help him reach 100,000 followers. And like I said, subscribe to me if you haven't already. Help me reach 15,000 followers. Why not? As soon as we possibly can. Thank you guys for watching. Up the Chelsea. Upwards and onwards. Hopefully we can do this. And I'll see you next time.